is Salem and Kaiser. I'm Lee Coyne, your host for Gray Matters, and we are privileged to have with us none other than Mayor Anna Peterson, whose birthday will be May 30th. You can send her lots of birthday cards.
No.
I won't tell you what age it is, but it's
okay.
It's 60 plus, and she is in her last of 3 terms, I believe. 20. You first
yes, that's right.
Took office in 2011.
That's correct.
January 11, 2011.
That's right.
And before that, she had a multifaceted history. Born in Corvallis. When did you leave Corvallis for Portland?
I think I was a few months old, so I don't really remember that one. But then I was raised in Portland. Went to school in Portland.
And her mother and father. Your original name was Chadwick.
Chadwick. And my parents met in England. My father was in the, it was then called the Army Air Corps in World War II.
Same as my dad. Well,
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
And then my mother was British and lived in Cambridge.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Just outside Cambridge, yes. And they met and married, and my sister was born a couple of years later. The war was still going on. He was still there, of course. And then at the end of the war, they came here in 1946, and then I was born in 1947, so everyone can do the math and figure out I'm going to be 69 years old, and happily so, alive and well. And we lived in North Portland, grew up there, went to school in North Portland, Portsmouth Grade School, Roosevelt High School, and then married, and later went to the University of Oregon. And I know, Lee, you're going to want to talk about that because you and I both share the same degrees. Journalism,
as they say in Brooklyn, New York.
And we call it journalism here.
I know, yeah.
Fun. Okay.
In reading your Wikipedia bio, it's a good way to kind of get to know guests. It said that you worked doing marketing director or whatever in the University of Oregon Law School. How did that come about?
I did. Well, I was commuting from Salem to Eugene to get my journalism degree. I went back to school as an adult to get a college education, and then at the University of Oregon studying journalism. And in the course of that, I, of course, met people at the law school because my husband was practicing law at the time, had been practicing law in Portland, and was a graduate of the U of O Law School and was very involved in the law school alumni association and their board of visitors. And so I got to know people at the law school, and when I graduated with my journalism degree, they happened to have an opening for a development and alumni director, and we're looking for someone interested in marketing as well as the fundraising and PR. And I fit the niche, and I got the job.
Wow.
And most people that I was working with and got to know, the alumni, never put me connected to my husband, which was kind of fun. And then they'd find out that, that was my husband. And so it was a great way to have my own career in my own sphere, Eugene. People didn't think about, my home was in Salem. Nobody knew or cared. It didn't matter. But it was nice to start my journalism career really there, and then later in Salem.
What was your favorite part of journalism? Were your feature stories, headlines?
Oh, the thing I liked the most was really writing stories that required some research and some real analysis. So that it didn't matter to me whether I was writing about a geological thing like the eruption of Mount St. Helens, which happened when I was in school at Portland State, or whether it was politics or perhaps a land use issue. I liked things that had a lot of substance to them.
And I bet that gave you a foundation, literally and figuratively, for handling political research, so that you didn't just superficially appear on CCTV in front of the cameras with no knowledge whatsoever, that you had dug and delved beneath the surface to get
some of that.
What I would call tributaries to the river, using Mill Creek and Willamette as a crazy example.
Right. But I'd always had, as an adult, I'd always had a strong interest in government and in governmental affairs and in politics. And so those were certainly a focus for me. And then when I was here in Salem, began really connecting with the community through the arts.
Definitely.
Through the Salem Public Library Foundation that I served on, and with the historic Elsinore restoration, and I was on that board for I think 7 years. And so I learned a lot about the Salem community through those kinds of activities in the arts and in literacy. And prior to that, I came actually to my first job in Salem was at Garten Foundation.
Yes, I saw that.
And that was a wonderful experience for me to learn about people with disabilities and to learn about the abilities that people have when they may have a mental disability, but they have really tremendous abilities, and I loved working at Garten.
Amen, yes. I'm going to ask you a little bit about let's turn first for a minute to what your husband, Edwin, I think is his name, and what was he doing as a judge? Give us a little picture, because you're in the spotlight now and he isn't. So let's give him not quite equal time, but a little bit of time.
Sure. Well, Edwin was practicing law in Portland when we met and married, and he practiced law there for a number of years, and then was appointed to the Oregon Supreme Court. And at that point, 1979, he had never run for political office, but courts in Oregon are led by judges that are elected by the people, which I think is a wonderful system. And so he was elected statewide as an Oregon Supreme Court justice. He soon became Chief Justice and was Chief Justice of the Oregon Supreme Court for a number of years, and he led some real groundbreaking landmark research and documentation about racial bias in the courts and about gender bias in the courts. And so those were specialties that he was interested in, but also he made a hallmark in the practice of law in really understanding legal professionalism and establishing that as a criteria that the Oregon State Bar, I think, is really known for, the quality of the lawyers and the professionalism that they are, that they aspire to, and that, in fact, they are held to.
Yes. I wonder if you knew that your birthday and Law Day are on opposite sides of May. May 1st is National Law Day.
I didn't realize that.
I just, this crazy mind correlates these, the two bookends, so to speak.
Right.
Okay. I want to ask you, in your profile, it points to 3 or 4 role model icons who inspired you. We'll talk up 2 or 3. Tom McCall, Barbara Roberts, Hardy Myers, and Attorney General Frohnmeyer, if I remember.
Betty Roberts.
Betty Roberts.
Betty Roberts.
Betty Roberts.
Interesting. Barbara Roberts was governor. Betty Roberts was the first woman appointed to the Oregon Supreme Court.
Okay, tell us about her.
Well, she had a remarkable career in practicing law and as a legislator, and was responsible for much really groundbreaking legislation, but also for groundbreaking in the way of clearing the path, opening the path for women in politics and women in leadership roles in this state, and was a tremendous role model to me as I watched the way she navigated sometimes not very welcoming situations because of her gender, but she never lost her sensitivity and the softness that was part of her charm. And yet she had a very sharp legal mind and was a very hard worker.
Sounds like much different than Judge Judy.
So I think nothing like Judge Judy.
Almost
nothing
the opposite.
like that
Okay, that's and tell us a little bit about Hardy Myers. I saw his name on the ballot many times. He was Attorney General 2-3 terms.
Right. Hardy Myers had been an outstanding legislator, and as Attorney General was really one of the finest Attorney Generals that we've had here, because he was not political, really. He looked at the Constitution always, and he had very strong understanding of the value of property right and water rights. And he was really one of those early people to speak out about the fact that in Oregon, even though it rains a lot like it did today, water can be a scarce item.
Can be,
and so he was very, he was very knowledgeable about that.
Tom McCall has his statue as a fisherman fishing for legislative votes. They're out in the
right at Riverfront Park.
By the way, I don't know if
Right,
you've heard,
right.
there's, you don't have to commit yourself on the air, but several of us are talking about seeing if we, probably through Becky George, to include in this year's July 4th ceremony in Riverfront, if we can, getting the swearing in of new citizens in Salem areas as Welcome to America type gathering.
Lovely, lovely. That's
Yeah.
a great idea.
And so we're working on it behind the scenes, but now the public knows.
Now the public knows.
Okay.
Oh,
And if
wonderful.
we had enough time, but I don't think we would, it would be cool to have the national anthems of those countries from which they're transpiring, but that's too
Oh,
ideal.
it'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
It would be.
It would be
A little
lovely.
musical. We
Recognizing.
get the senators to do it or whatever.
Yeah. So they just won an award. Right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go to, let's tell a little bit the story of the Elsinore. You were very active in that, you said 7-8 years.
I was, and the historic Elsinore, when I started on the board, was cold and damp and filled with little critters down in the basement and holes in the ceilings, and several of us gathered together and said, let's really get serious about the restoration that needs to happen here. And we did. We launched a capital campaign, and when I say we, I'm going to do this right off the top of my head. I don't want to miss anybody. Rich Harcourt and,
Yes.
and Chris Nielsen and Tom Nielsen and Mike Riddle and Michelle Pecora and of course, you know what, I'm leaving somebody off. This is terrible. We had an outstanding opportunity to really launch a capital campaign and be serious about the work that needed to be done. We raised $3.5 million, and we spent $3.5 million, and we finished the project on time. And today, the Historic Elsinore is used in one way or another almost every day of the year. Some shows need a day or two to load in and a day to load out, but there is something going on at the Elsinore
Terrific.
almost all the time.
And you gave us an
it's
excellent idea. I
it's
think we're
great.
going to have the new exec director there who's
Wonderful.
And
That would be great to have
we
him.
may want to focus on the Wednesday night old-time movie films and
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, you know, the Elsinore has been home to many types of performances and has been the gathering place and the meeting place for Salem for generations. And we really learned that when we were doing the restoration, because so many people would come and tell us their stories and bring pictures from when they did a dance recital on the stage or when they saw a famous person on the stage. So it's a spot that has a significance for the Salem community, and I feel very pleased about being a part of the restoration and a part of continuing to support the theater.
Yeah. You just inspired an idea, spontaneously on the air. For many years, I have resented the stereotype on the cover of phone books that only the state capitol counts and no other building in town has any validity. And so I think we should begin with the phone book for 2016 and maybe get the Elsinore to have the front page cover with the maybe inside
that'd
stuff.
be lovely.
And
Wouldn't that?
let the people know we offer more than state government. Yes, we are the seat of state government,
would be
but
lovely.
it doesn't end there.
That would be a great idea, Lee. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could sponsor a resolution of the council if you want. I mean, it won't have binding effect, but at least they'll
Right.
open the door, not the Pandora's box,
Well,
but the
we've been
door.
very fortunate. The Elsinore has been photographed by Ron Cooper and others, and there are
Yes.
some lovely photos in the archives. But Salem is a multifaceted community, and we're certainly a lot more than state government. They're a great partner for us, for the city of Salem, and they're a tremendously important employer in this community. So we really like having that relationship.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I should share with you, but again, no comment. I was talking with our mutual friend, Mr. Bennett, Chuck Bennett, no endorsement here, but the possibility of having the state have its second school of social work someplace here in Salem, possibly on the north campus of OHS, Oregon State Hospital. But the prime thing would be to have every social work student get I wouldn't call it internship, get a course in public policy on his or her specialty, since we have the state agencies here, because that way the social worker gets broad in mind and sees not only the one-to-one small micro relationship, but the macro of how policy is fostered and fomented, and would give, I think, would make us a little pioneer in social work thing. So that's my cherished belief as the one-time secretary of the state chapter.
Yeah, well, it's certainly something to aspire to.
Okay,
yeah.
so to be continued.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about the coming projects. I mentioned two, you might have a third to mention. Things in the making are, first, the new police facility.
Right.
We have pretty much a site on commercial and all. What are some of the aspects that will go into this police station, assuming that the voters will put thumbs up?
Right. Well, we've certainly been studying and having careful research done by outside consulting architectural firm that specializes in law enforcement facilities nationwide. And they have done an assessment of our police department and found that through all of the various functions and departments and sections of our police department, that we need a facility that's about 148,000 square feet. It would, at Heart's desire, my desire certainly, to include the 911 call center, which is in a separate building right now, and bring all that together. We really look forward to a state-of-the-art police facility, nothing lavish, nothing that wouldn't be considered appropriate in any community for their law enforcement, but a building that will last 40, 50 years from now, and a building that is built to the federal standards for emergency preparedness. It would be reoccupied after a major earthquake because it would have been built to survive that. And a building that would have the space for the workings of a police department, which are varied and which go on 24/7. So it would need to be a facility that could take that kind of impact and survive a major quake, and also be a building that would serve us now and serve us into the next 40 years. And our city continues to grow. Our police department is not heavily staffed. We're behind national and even regional standards for law enforcement per capita, but we look forward to the fact that the community is going to grow. The police department will need to grow.
And this is for our children and grandchildren's generation. We have to think ahead and not just be short term. Forward thinking. I would ask, I don't know if it's in your purview to make it true, but on the city's website, cityofsalem.net, I guess it's called, is there a possibility that a preview of the layout or the aspects of the new police station could be posted so that
well, it's a great idea. That's a great idea, Lee. In fact, we do have available on the city website now information about the process. We did that all during the Blue Ribbon Task Force on the police facility, and we have information there now. Right now, we are looking at very simple schematics. The actual designing of the police facility will occur at a later date, and so of course those renderings would be available to the public, and I think on the website is a great way to do that. The architectural firm we're working with now is not the designing firm. They are at the assessment level and at the level of helping us to identify just what we need as far as space.
Okay. Now you may have noticed I'm wearing a button.
I see that.
5 years ago this August was the dedication of the Salem Peace Mosaic.
Oh, I remember that, yes.
I think that was during your first term, probably.
It was.
Send over Laura Tesler as your representative.
I know that, yes.
I'm wondering, and this has not yet been planned out, but maybe this August we could have a 50th anniversary of that and talk about what it means in terms of promoting peace and social justice. Maybe Gretchen Bennett and her commission could take part. Your international committee under John Cipolla could certainly have a prominent role in that.
Great idea.
You could,
Great idea. Great idea.
And you will be there maybe to introduce it and
Lee,
possibly
you're getting ahead of yourself. You're getting ahead of me.
Well, no, I'm just fantasizing.
Right,
what
right,
if?
right.
What if?
Right. And by the way, speaking of that, Peace Plaza at the Civic Center now has new flags flying. I saw them putting them up yesterday. New banners for Peace Plaza. So people should go and take a look at that.
Excellent.
Very attractive.
Yeah.
Very attractive. I think you wanted to talk about some of the other major things that are going on.
Yes, okay.
Beyond the police facility.
Let's talk about the bridge to Minto Island.
Yes, let's talk about that. It's going right on schedule, right on budget, and when it is completed, we will have a greater park space with the connection between Minto Brown Island, Riverfront Park, and Wallace Marine Park, a greater landmass than Central Park in New York City.
Wow.
So we are excited about the redesign, the replanning for Riverfront Park, which will be done coming up shortly. They'll start working on the master plan for Riverfront Park, and they've already been working on the master plan for Minto Brown Island. And when that bridge opens, I'm convinced that it will be a magnet. It will be almost like a strong field around it. And people are going to really enjoy the recreation and just the leisure time that they can spend on the bridge, going over to Minto Brown Island, enjoying the new trails.
I'm going to ask, the Riverfront Park blueprint will be announced before you enter term of office?
Oh, I don't think that the master plan will be finished by that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just hoping that the Parks Commissioner could come aboard. Maybe we could also have Chief Moore or Assistant Chief Belshaw come and talk more about the police station.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so
I think that would be a great idea, right?
But
we have a lot of things underway for the city.
Tell us more.
And,
get down your yellow legal pad. Go ahead.
Well, we got some great road projects going on. People who are using Kubler Boulevard out south are going to be very pleased by, yes, it's going to be widened, and that's an important project. We're happy about that. Very exciting things going on in West Salem and West Salem urban renewal area, redevelopment there at Wallace Road and Edgewater. If you've been by there lately, you see that the ground is flattened out, the old buildings are taken down, and the new Goodwill store and other businesses will go in there.
Because the buildings have been taken down, the back wall of whatever it is, probably a white wall receded, is kind of dirty and all. I'm thinking of that as a potential mural, a la, it could be maybe not a mural, but maybe not a mosaic. And my thoughts are, and would have to involve some negotiation, of getting the Grand Ronde tribe involved in doing a mural on the Kalapuya culture and our Native American heritage. We've never had anything in a major city like that.
No, we haven't had that.
So
I'm not sure which wall you're talking about.
Okay, it's a white wall recessed from Wallace Road in the building between the car wash and the site to be. And you can see now the fading. I think blighted is a good term, but it ain't pretty, baby.
No, but that's really separate of the project that Goodwill is doing.
Of course, it's just exposed now, and it lends itself to.
I see what you mean.
It lends itself to, and maybe who knows? Maybe the casino can pick up a few more customers.
Who knows? Right.
Who knows?
The other thing that's going on that's very exciting is that we've just adopted the plan for the redevelopment of Portland Road in the Northgate Urban Renewal Area. And the Northgate Urban Renewal Area has tremendous potential. There are a lot of businesses out there. There are a lot of businesses that are really thriving, and there's space for more. And the new I have to remember the name of it. The new school that the Salem Kaiser Schools and Mountain West have been involved with, the Career Technical Education Center, CTEP, are a catalyst for North Portland Road. It's just tremendous now that the students are there, faculty are there, and the equipment that these students are training on to learn welding, to learn drafting, and pretty soon the cosmetology center will be developed there, and several others it's a game changer for North Portland, having an educational facility for the technical arts is
excellent.
Game changing for our
Madam
community.
Mayor, with roughly 3 minutes left, I want to.
Yeah,
that's
I see.
That's our beat the clock.
I see
device
that.
And all. I want to. Let me see what I want to ask. You were very active, I think, with these commissioners from Marion County about the homelessness task force.
Yes, I'd like to talk about that.
In the few minutes left, let's talk about where do we go from here? What do you see are the roots of the problem? And what can citizens do to support their government to,
I'm very
ease the
excited.
problem?
I'm very excited. I call this the collaboration capital, and it really is. The city of Kaiser and Marion County and Polk County and the city of Salem have joined together to create the initiative. We are the Mid-Willamette Homeless Initiative Task Force. We have a task force of 25, and we are looking at the greatest return for investment in terms of the housing that's needed. And so we're really looking at affordable housing, we're looking at low-income housing, and we're looking at the kinds of public-private partnerships that can produce housing not just in Salem, but Kaiser and over in West Salem and Polk County and other parts of Marion County, so that people have a greater chance to actually have a home, have an apartment, have a home, and have a stable lifestyle.
Okay, good. Let's end off with the theme of people who want to follow you into public service. What are the stepping stones? What do they need to do? How would you motivate people out there with young kids and not so young kids that might aspire to a public service career?
Well, the first thing I want to say about it is that it's been a pleasure and an honor to be the mayor of Salem for 6 years. It's a full-time volunteer job, and I work very hard at it, and I know that anyone that would aspire to public service would receive the same kind of real support from the community, and also the type of satisfaction that comes from that service. I encourage people to join into the boards and commissions that we have, and to take part in community activities, take part in community organizations. My background was mostly with the arts, with literacy, with drug and alcohol addiction issues when we started.
No meth,
not in my neighborhood. Yeah. So just get involved, and they'll learn a lot.
Good, okay. And I think in a sentimental kind of way, since May is Older Americans Month, I want to dedicate this show to your grandparents, wherever they are.
Thank you.
You want to say, let's get their names, your grandparents.
Yes, the Chadwicks and the Jones. So that's very easy, right?
Okay.
So there we are.
Thank you. May you all honor your grandparents this coming month, and I want to thank you, Mayor
Peterson,
for being such a vivacious guest.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay.